we are there but not there. We have a lot of good people around. We have a lot of experienced people around. We're not under the same roof. That's the problem. We are scattered all over the place, and I'm sure each one of those people are struggling where they are.
And the core issue is you have to ask morality and the character. If they are in place, then this check and balances will work.
Together we stand. We had a beacon of hope forevermore for the greater good. We raise our voice in unity. We make the choice.
Hello Internet, welcome to another episode of Competent Counsel with Hafiz and Adi, coming to you straight from American Corner Sabah, here at the Sabah State Library. If you ever wanted to start your own podcast, just like us here, this space is perfect for you, where American Green Corner provides everything you need. Mic, lights and camera, of course. All set up, ready for your action. This initiative is all about empowering the youth through education and media creations, and we are excited to be hosting our host here at the American Corner Sabah at the Sabah State Library.
Yeah, and very good reason why we are doing it at the American Corner Sabah is because this is the final and last episode in our 8-episode series together with Sabah, the Sabah Action Body Advocating Rights Group, on an 8-episode series called Suara ke Tindakan, Voices to Action, where we'll be focusing on Sabah's most pressing issues. We've covered quite an array of issues, a myriad of issues that with our fabulous guests over the past few days, from health to education. And now we are going into the crux of it. Hafiz, what topic is it going to be this time and why?
But Adi, before that, the conversation doesn't end there, Adi, because Sabah and their partners will publish key takeaways in newspapers and discussion up for public input. So you at home can participate as well. So good ideas recommendation will be compiled into a report for submission to the government and political leaders for considerations, adoptions and implementations, because your voice matters. So stay tuned with the Voices into Action. Let's shape our Sabah future together.
Yeah, so with that said, let's introduce two of our guests here today. One of it is, if you've been watching and keeping up the series, someone very familiar, we have him back, thankfully, which is Datuk Hanafiah, who is, if you don't know, I can give another brief introduction, is that he graduated in LLB Honours from the University of East London in 1993. He was a senior state counsel in the litigation division in the Sabah State Attorney General Chambers from 2000 to 2019. And he is currently the Permanent Secretary for the Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation. So we got civil servant here as before, and since we had a great time with Datuk Hanafiah before, I'm sure we're going to be in for another great treat this time around. Who do we have next, Hafiz?
Exactly. Sitting next to Datuk is Michael Tong. He's a Chartered Accountant of Malaysia Institute of Accountants, Sabah Senior Partners of Crowe Malaysia. 4 decades, everyone. Experience of corporate finance and auditing. And of course, he's conferred the Justice of the Peace by the Governor of Sabah. So, Adi.
Okay,
these
so
are heavyweights.
Yeah, we have to be careful what we ask here. We need to make sure it's worth our time. Yeah. So we are going to be talking about governance here, but from the side of funding and management of public funds. So we always hear all stories of when it comes to big money being spent on big projects, anything to do with development and infrastructure in Sabah. And sometimes that funds, we get accompanying news, sometimes not very good news, sometimes news of leakages, news of mismanagement. So maybe we can start with Michael here, because let's talk about the biggest scandal that we've ever seen in Malaysia, which is 1MDB. So it's the most high-profile case of public fund looting in Malaysia and probably in the world. So what do you think this is the case, Michael?
Yeah, I think this one probably broke history. Even the United States Justice Department say they have recovered more than $1 billion fund that were actually misappropriated in the first time in US history. That already broke the record. But even from Malaysia point of view, the amount is so. I can take that today. Even the court case is still ongoing. And we can see the commitment of those bonds that the government had to commit to pay probably will last the next generation before we see the end of this huge theft and leakages caused by this issue that we're going to discuss more on the lack of transparency, accountability. I think at the core of all matter is the matter of corruption.
All right, I'm going to bring you Datuk. Well, everything mechanism is in place, and then structured are there to prevent this abuse of power and whatnot. And in your opinion, someone's already in the from civil service. Like, what is the biggest barrier that from preventing us from implementing these values that we have?
I wouldn't call it. Yeah, you may call it barrier, but like you said, when mechanism has been placed, that means it has gone through series of studies, data gathered, debates, and I think people like our Datuk here on auditors, for enforcements, they all share data and frame a mechanism and SOP and a structure to for the rest of the administration to abide with. The thing is, what I've seen lacking is after all this, mind you, when they frame something, it has probably gone through painstaking months of discussions to come up with this product, the SOPs and everything. But once it's done, here's the mindset. Everyone thought, okay, we got it. Let's do this. That becomes, your reference for decades. And what so many times when we come up in litigations, when the courts start questioning, this is in compliance with this procedures, this mechanics, whatnot. And then some opposing counsel will just ask, when was this framed? Did it follow up with the latest development locally and internationally? Is the system up to date? That's why the normal, almost all the time, whenever this question is posed, we struggle in answering. Why? Because we know we haven't done proper monitoring and reviewing. It's been like that for in some cases even decades. Not reviewed and everything. So when you say a barrier or whatever problems with this mechanism, it's probably because it was never reviewed. It's quite archaic, and that leaves the future generations to find loopholes and means on how to defeat these procedures. And nobody even detected this. This is another concern. Nobody is picking up. Nobody is even prompting. There's an issue except auditors. They've been highlighting, hey, something is not right here. Something is not right. But it's still the decision maker have to pick it up and implement it. But the one who received the signals from quarters like auditors or courts or enforcement agencies are probably not in a competent level to understand what they are saying actually. So that's another delay factor. I'm trying to put this as simple as I can, but that's the landscape you're looking at. So a simple a matter can, instead of doing it within days, you end up doing it in years. So in between, all the loose gaps. And things can happen in those years, So and it manifests itself. That's a problem again. Once you reach the manifestation, level or episode of all this, saga. I mean, you're talking about culture.
Yeah.
So this will penetrate all the way down, and what's wrong is not seen as wrong anymore. At some point in the future. So. This is the real challenge, I think. It all started from the very basics, actually. I always believe when you're investigating something, when you're looking at something, don't look what is in front of you. Don't look at what you're hearing. Look at the root cause. Go trace it back, because it will repeat itself over time, even far beyond our days. Luckily, we are on a breakthrough right now. Technology like AI that may help civilization, as we say.
Course correct in a way.
Yeah.
But when you said that, you talked about basically institutions and the rules that keep in place to ensure that good governance is maintained. Over time, things get a bit archaic, not adapting, and then we create this culture of complacency, right?
Yeah.
And maybe I'm going to pick back to Michael here because I think one of those institutions, or let's say things that are archaic, is I want to bring about is project procurement. So the National Audit Department annual reports on government contracts at inflated costs like construction of schools, hospitals and public infrastructure often exceeds reasonable costs and budgets. The worst projects suffered from delays in substandard quality, such as maybe the Pan Borneo, compared to Sarawak, which is 90+% complete already, or even road development in West Malaysia. Is this also in line with what Hanafiah mentioned in terms of we're not reviewing and reinstituting best practices?
So we have the mechanism, like for instance, the Auditor General, but you will notice, for instance, if the Auditor General just released its report for 2023 only this year, that means for the whole of 2024, there was no follow-through because the report only came out in 2025. So, strictly speaking, if the Auditor General reports are from where a lot of public wastage, mismanagement, and even corruption were reported 1 year after too late. So, the timeliness and the early detection were never reported in Parliament until more than 12 months. So, that is highly not inefficient. Even from the justice point of view, delayed justice is no justice. So the same thing, you want to point out on your financial irregularities, and you don't report in more than a year, that will not able to so-called rectify or fill up any deficiency discovered. So you can see that all the report by the Auditor General came very late. I think one thing to rectify, like any corporation or company or public listed company, all accounts must be audited within 6 months of its financial closing. So by right, if you report on 2023, by last year June, the auditor just should come out with the report already. What are the deficiency, shortfall, internal control weakness? That kind of thing would have enabled the government to take early action.
So, Datuk, I want to bring you in here. There's a famous quote says, "Absolute power corrupts absolutely." We heard this a lot of times, and this is related to separation of power. And of course, bring it back to the mechanism just now. We do have the separation of power, legislative, executive, what have you. But what is the thing that compromised the system that we already created so much? How like you mentioned, what is the loophole that people find in, and then they abuse this loophole?
It's such a very gigantic perspective for me to, because in short, you are never looking at only one or two factors. It's a collective of factors, starting from training, maybe competency, human resource development. You can bring in all the experts, and you're talking about when this good batch retired, you end up having a new batch for new training again, whether that training follow through. So, like I said, manifesting of a number of factors. On the notion of that's the statement we learned in the first year law, until today we still remember it. It's very elementary. So, as a lawyer, as a practicing lawyer before, whenever we see things in the news saying, we're going to memperkasakan this, we're going to strengthen this. So, among lawyers, we're questioning whether that's the right thing to do. They've grown too powerful. That's not the way to go. I mean, over the centuries, you've seen authorities. This public in the public domain. It's in the history books. There's so many episodes of abuse of powers, and more worrying if such powers, enjoys
unchecked
immunity, cannot be questioned and on. Understandably, some of them require certain immunity, but commendably, the courts has been very aggressive on this. They are very the word used is they're very jealous in looking at immunity, and they're always looking how to smash it down. If they unable to do so, then they will mold in a creative manner how to balance check, as you put it. For example, one of the authorities, one of the powers the authorities enjoy is the discretionary power. So discretionary means it's up to me, I can choose to whatever, you know. But while the law is stated as such in legislation, the courts were a bit setback at the time, so the law, they cannot go beyond the law. But I've seen judges very creative. Fine, we're not going to challenge that discretion, but we still have the power. How did you arrive into that decision? Maybe I can take a look, what did you take into account in exercising your discretion, which is very smart actually. From when discovering on that element that forms that decision, discretionary decision, they found any illegality there. For example, I choose A and B because he's Malay, he's non-Malay. That's racial discrimination, you know, or even religion discrimination. They can, the moment that is picked up, that's enough for the courts to declare the whole decision is bad. So it can be nullified decision because it's unconstitutional or whatnot. So you cannot hide behind legislation to do so-called power. So we need this kind of challenges every now and then. Leaders come and go. I'm just hoping, being humanity, looking at the religious point of view, I mean, God has sent us so many revelations since time immemorial, but humanity never forgot them. And that's why you keep been sending all this, prophets after prophets, and then you need good few people to be born every now and then. So it's about passing the baton from our generation to the next generation down, you know. So that's how we survive as a civilization. Only that we cannot have it between good and evil. You're not seeing all of them immediately. That's the unseen one, is the troubling one. And everyone needs to be reminded of that. Absolute power is not a real answer. Even if you remember during Tun Mahathir, our former PM, he amended the constitution on the controlling the Sultan's powers. I think something like that is quite commendable for Malaysia's history.
But he also did the same to the judiciary, didn't he?
Oh yeah, he did. That's the other side of the coin, you know. So this is again another phenomena that we need to discuss more, and humanity or civilization need to accept this. What I'm seeing from that is a person can do both good and evil at the same time. So in the pretext of one or the other. So this needs a better balance.
Michael, you want to add?
Yeah, with regard to the absolute power, from our auditing profession, this is a no-no. Because the first thing as auditor is to look at independence and objectivity. When you have management override, no matter how good your check and balances is, it will fail, because at the apex of the power, the top CEO, if he decided to subvert that check and balances, especially if you become an authority of government, nobody dare to disobey. Now, our recent case, you can see already over 1 MDB. The top can override all this management control, foreign exchange control. You can see there is a total breakdown. So at the core issue is you have to ask the morality and the character. If they are in place, then this check and balances will work. If there is none, it will not work, because it will, as the Chinese Confucius say, the rod always starts from the head of the fish. It will just rot down. So that's why we had a system where you are looking at is 1 MDB. It's a very classic case where corruption start from the head, crawling down. Nobody stopped it because of that.
And that sets a very dangerous precedent,
Very
right?
dangerous. It's a no-no as far as our profession, because the first thing we question the management in an audit interview with the management, is there any area of management override? That means your system, your protocol, your SOP in place. But if the top management can override it, it's already a red flag. And we will be more careful to drill down where is that red flag coming from.
Yeah, I mean,
Just a quick
yeah, go ahead,
addition.
Datuk.
A
Please go
very
ahead.
interesting point. I totally agree
Yeah.
to that. But let's say the whole immunity is also all taken out, so everyone enjoys what they're supposed to be doing. But my worry is, even without rules, this one seminar, one senior lawyer mentioned this in a seminar. It's about finance, the role of a board of directors in a meeting.
Yes,
He mentions Malaysia is still very much a feudal.
Feudalistic.
Feudalistic.
Yeah,
Because
so-
the moment you see one Tengku come in, the room, one Buddha come in the room, everyone, a so-called hero of governance will say yes sir, no problem. So these are the culture. Like I mentioned, that's a culture issue. Even without it's a silent immunity, unspoken immunity there.
It's almost like ritualistic in a way. Yeah. We have it in a ritualistic sense. But I like this whole conversation, Dr. Michael, because we've seen, right, many different situations in the history that nodes of power always compete with one another. Either it's to gain power themselves or to hold power in check. Like in England, they have parliament, right, slowly taking away from the monarchy. But in France, you had absolute monarchy, slowly eroded by the Estates General, and then that led to the revolution because things just weren't balanced properly. So coming back to in Malaysia, right, because you said feudalistic, right, I like to bring up that maybe in Sabah's case we're tribalistic still rather than feudalistic. It's even more fragmented along, and these there's so many interest groups and factions vying for accountability. Like the auditors is like, we have to keep things in check, but then you have people saying that no, we need to increase power here and here. Like this seems to be a very human error here. It's a very human nature to secure power, right? So with all the institutions that we have, all the progress that we made, right, it took European countries like our model, so to speak, and so many years, so many generations, centuries even. Can we be a bit kinder to ourselves and say that, oh, okay, we're still growing, we're still learning. Of course, the scandal like when MDB is atrocious in the marks of history. But can we also be saying that this is still a learning process for all of us here in Malaysia? And maybe I'll start with
I think
Michael.
the core issue of corruption is not a victimless crime. It has a lot of victim. The bottom line is the citizens have to pay for it. And the corruption starts, I would say, from my viewpoint, a moral decay. All religion teach about the morality of between right and wrong. But when that distinction is not there, people that say it's okay, I can put my hand in the till, as long as I'm not caught, I'm okay, So there is another aspect is the shame culture is not there for people who practice corruption, because they don't have that kind of honor and dignity to uphold. Let's say if my father is a well-known prime minister, I need to uphold his good name. But when I become the prime minister and the son, I don't want to, destroy the reputation and the legacy left by my father. So that idea or that feeling of honoring, the culture of honoring and the culture of being shameful of something that was done. More so when religion teach you, oh, it's okay, corruption is not a sin, then we have people get a bit confused. Really, if you bribe somebody, it's not a crime, then it will amount to a kind of reward for not doing something that you ought to do by your hard work, but purely because of your leverage. Then it brings in a lot of, we did discuss in another seminar, when would a gift become a bribe? In government institution, people give hampers, but when you cross the line of the value of the gift, and it has the power to corrupt your objective, independent thinking, and give a wrong decision favoring the giver, that would be an issue, because it's not for the general good, because it's only for the benefit of the party who give you the money. And even from the giver point of view, I sense that all this corruption case, we have not actually go after the giver so much as just the receiver. The giver is equally the hand that give the clap. So there's something else. So that's my take on that.
Datuk?
Yeah. Well, I would look at another angle. Yes, this I very much agree with but here's the thing. I've been pondering about this issue. Why do people do this? For some time. And when I was in MOF, we have regular meetings with enforcements and everything, but more on the GFC context. So in one meeting, I asked, of all these people you arrested, I remember asking them, are they all boya? Or are they just small kacang one? They said not all boyas. So in percentage, how many of the boyas? Or maybe 40%. Oh, the majority? These are straight officers, no wrong, nothing, and then they just got caught with this one moment and then that's it. So I said, why don't you spend some time, take a look at this? Something's causing them to do this. From that moment, I bring you forward to a recent PMX on Hari Pekerja, I think last year. I went to KL for this. That's the first announcement of when they start reviewing the government servant salary. So I was shocked to learn that during the announcement, apparently, but this is a federal service, I'm not sure about the state service. The federal service, the salary hasn't been reviewed for the last 12 years. So that's how long it has been. And then it made me wonder, no wonder I'm always short in every month, and then the Cambridge studies has done, I think, May last year, together with World Bank on education, they were doing some auditing on Malaysia's pension scheme. And here's the word, the conclusion is that the pension scheme is daif. So I'm yet to see the Malaysian authority to respond whether they agree with the Cambridge study or not. But now it got me worried, not only that I know my salary has been low all this while, and now after retirement I'm not having a good pension scheme. So you see, you must look at the journey of the civil service. I've been watching and we've been defending many cases from tortious action, from some minor punitive offences. So when they start getting all this, it's all about desperation. It's all about kids growing up, and they're not making grounds. And I think this session will be talking about meritocracy and appointments of the civil service as well. You have that kind of things. People who deserve to go up didn't go up, So most of them end up, they need to live. If they quit, they're gonna spend. They're gonna just a lot of sacrifice there to do, and time is always running, kids always growing, and the financial commitment, not mentioning economic situation around us, with Sabah the highest poverty and also the highest in unemployment, that speaks volume into, when people are desperate, they will just do anything. So there you go.
Yeah, I think I want to add on. I used to think that corruption was a consequence of economic necessity. But over the recent years, corruption continued to be committed by the rich and the powerful. It's not driven so much our economic necessity as political. Because of the way our election have been structured, it need money to finance and win an election, and the creation of patronage. So those are the areas that generate the hunger and desire for mega fund to fight and win and stay in power. That also is a ingredient for corruption. That now more and more of this, you see, is not driven by the poor people because they need to feed their children. It's more now in the very nature of greed. The greed is the one can really need to be tackled even at the school level, teaching them what is good moral values. But at the moment now, you can see nobody will care. In actual fact, it's quite frightening that the recent discovery of 170 million cash that belongs to aides to the former PM, it doesn't actually draw outrage or even outcry from the public. Wow, why this money? It could have been gone somewhere for public purpose. But the sense of public outrage is not there. I sense it because you can see it become more acceptable. Well, this is part of politics, but unfortunately that's had to change. You went to have the whole thing. We written about what we think about. These are all costs of public fund leakage, wastage. Eventually, it's not only just an economic consequence. Some can be of strategic military security to us. You can pay billions for LCT naval ship but never built. Your jet fighter engine was sold to a South American country without the Defense Department knowing about it until years later. Well, that speak volume what's happening to our system. So you can see that even if you buy two submarine does not perform what it's supposed to perform at exorbitant cost, our security, national security is at stake, compromised. So those are things that go beyond just mere corruption.
We talk about some mechanism that are already in place and legality around it as well. Now I want to bring in the public roles that can play by public, especially the Whistleblower Act. Pakatan Harapan, you may say that they paved their way to their victory in 2018 because of most of the whistleblowers that give them this info so that they can expose 1MDB and then the Lembu Kondo issue, if some of you still remember. So, but still, perception up there like, hey, don't go to the authorities. You get yourself into trouble. Once you get yourself into trouble, you can never get out of it. So that becomes, like, I know, but I'm gonna keep my mouth shut. What can be done?
You know what? There's just a slight revision in the Whistleblower Act. But the thing is, the public perception and is not giving us or the people who had the knowledge to spill the bean that kind of assurance that they will be protected. Even the recent case about the mineral case, actually, you become a whistleblower, you'll be more dangerous than the allegation against other people. Yeah, it is true. He will be investigated. Wow, he become his own victim. So until such time, the Whistleblower Act is such watertight that protection, preservation of identity of the whistleblower been assured. But I can say the credibility at this point of time is not there for people to tap on this provision to protect them. Even if they can abuse it, they will not want to do it because this is asking for trouble.
Datuk?
Well, when a window cleaner start cleaning all the windows, it's a matter of time before the dust starts coming in. If you stop cleaning up, the dust will just build up, and then the problem gets bigger and bigger. So it's a constant struggle actually. When I say struggle, is you need a very competent people awareness program to the public. There are many other platforms. If you remember the previous commissioner, when during the recording session was revealed, just straight into the media. Among lawyers, we were like shocked. Like, how can that even happen? It's not going to be admissible because if I'm not mistaken, the Act says recording is only admissible in court if there is a sanction given by those people who happen to be in the video, in the audio. So there's no way the recording was sanctioned. So, but then perhaps this how the strategy was bring it out in the open. Apparently, we were surprised the kind of response coming from the public on this. But then, like you said, the recent 117 doesn't seem to attract public response that much. So I noticed that myself, and I said, what's happening here? Because it's happening too often, and it's becoming normal, or people are just giving up, or maybe it's a concern. But like I said, the public awareness need to go on, and then people, they need to be guided. They need to be convinced, so that when they feel convinced, they will be reporting on and making statements or doing their part as a member of the public, more confident and more. We need the numbers actually. We need the numbers. But like you said, whether we are really there yet, I can't really say. But sometimes you can see like 1MDB Malaysia is doing not bad. I mean, the only nation in the world who ever prosecuted is PM. I mean, I was just looking at the Indonesia recently.
And the riots.
And then they were saying, they're making this joke that even Indonesia tak pernah pergi, you know, never prosecuted. But Malaysia is not bad, you know. But anyway, we want what's real. We want sustainability. Well, nothing, you know, 100% perfect, but we need to have a healthy growth. In the meantime, people are in, you know, like you said, it's not a victimless crime, you know. Somebody is going down somewhere, people, public. So the public needs to be educated, bring more guidance, platform like this perhaps. And I would encourage lawyers or other government servants to give a pro bono services in districts, and you know, offer community services. Just to give them tips what to do, and when you see this, what not to say, you know, the procedures. Lacking of information, website does it, but sometimes people, even myself, got confused when I check one procedures to another. I said, hey, this one says this, that one says that, so I give up, you know. But that's me. What about the public? They will just brush it off, then tidak payahlah, you know. Itu bukan saya punya hal. So that's the kind of thing that it needs to change. But like you said, one thing in a way is there's a systematic way of you know, winning the hearts of this group of people. No need to report lah, you know. You can have your Hilux again.
This Whistleblower Act, the whole idea is to get people out, to give information that can be forensic in nature, that can prosecute. Now, the other aspect is the use of official secret acts to cover government
censorship.
For instance, I do not know why Parliament actually make an issue of it when they had classified the Auditor General report on 1MDB as official secret, which is ridiculous because the Auditor General is supposed to audit public account and make known any shortcoming or shortfall, but that very fact, because it did not even touch on national security, was put under Official Secret Act. And worse to it, now as you can see in the court case, they have been tampering of the report. And this smart lady working in Sabah audit, she managed to get hold of the original copy.
Very
she
brave
did not
lady.
destroy. Wow, that speaks volume about some of
Character.
integrity of some officers who are in that department, which by very right and very nature of the job must uphold that dignity and honor and integrity of the work. But when the Auditor General himself was compromised, it was something, you know, as we said, your best SOB will not work on the check and balances if the top.
The guardians weren't at the gates.
So that's something I think the Official Secret Act had been not used properly to safeguard what actually is official secret. And all these things that float up now in all the court case, we find that we had all the system of check and balances, but they are not not upheld and really maintained with that kind of strict credibility. The word credibility is an issue here. You know, when you do make selective decision on, say, prosecution of corruption, it also creates in the mind of the public, hey, is this is this a fair game, or is just purely used for a political purpose? So those are the things that the public are asking, the people are asking. So when you see one retired politician come under corruption, they say, wow, that's natural because you know, he fell from power, so now he's open to another corruption charge. So those are the things that the people felt, you know, we are playing a game, you know. It's not really after true justice, but more to serve a specific agenda, you know.
And these games that's been played is usually these manner of intrigues, a cottage industry that's mostly centered around people who are professionals in the urban area, very, you know, in the heart of power. But it's not really, maybe that's why my comment on public outrage, right? If we're expecting outrage, we could see it from maybe the urban area where people are more exposed to good principles, but not so much we can expect it in people in the rural because they have different priorities completely. So It's more like coming back a bit to what Hanafiah sort of hinted was meritocracy, right? Is that the talent, or we say the ability to observe and distinguish bad practices from good practices, is concentrated among a professional class, a professional elite. So going back to when you talk about the civil service, some people don't get promoted when they're very much deserving. How is meritocracy viewed upon, or how much is it practiced?
It's how do I start? Actually, the basic mechanism is we have the instrument called general orders, where it regulates promotions, disciplinary, and salaries and all that, holidays, and it governs everything. So the original, we inherited these general orders from the colonial days. Actually, it's a British system. On as far as meritocracy is concerned, I relate it to the promotion aspect. Now, promotion in the general orders, in the original general orders, it simply goes by seniority, nothing else. So you just have wait in line, you know, senior enough. So in 2008, it's the first time the AGC, I think, started it. They amended the printer arm general orders. Now the juniors has the chance to overtake the seniors. But here's the, provided that every year civil service is being given marks, you know, what we call it SKT, sasaran kerja tahunan, whether they have achieved. So the one who marks it is the HODs, the heads of department. Now, if the junior annual marks is supersede the senior, then he has a chance to overtake the senior.
Okay.
But if his marks is equal, then seniority still comes to play.
Okay.
Well, fair in a way. It's all good on paper. The trouble is the HODs, whether they're going to give 2 marks or not based on merit. And some, if you like the example, let's take an example of this. Very bold auditors who managed to save a copy of the minute. His HOD would not like that.
Middle management doesn't like that.
You're embarrassing me in my department. I'm not going to give it. But in the eyes of the private sector, in the eyes of the public, he is the hero of the day, you know. So this to me, I like to pose tricky questions to the fellow civil service, even now among my peers, even now how many decades they've been in the service. I said, do you know what the civil service means? Civil service means we serve the public, you know. So what do we know about the public? I asked them. So they see that we are living in our own world, so we thought we know everything. But when I asked them a simple question, how much do you know about the public out there? I happen to be in a legal forum, especially in the court, so I'm being exposed to this attack from the private sector left, right, top, bottom, to wake me up. So I'm very sensitive about the ground reality as I see it. So a lot of them are very, like I said, government service lives in a world of regulation, SOPs, procedure, general orders. So if that SOPs or mechanism happen to be something that's never been reviewed, they become robotic about it. They keep doing the same thing with no. I'm seeing this in court. I'm relating all this experience from the way we've been scrutinized in court. You know, have you even thought about this? Have you looked into that? These are the basic questions that the government servant don't even do. So because they are living under that
bubble, the silo,
So the refusal of engaging the private sector to understand them more. So I'm advocating that we need to know them more in order to serve them better, because that's the whole point of being in the service. But what we are seeing is more on, I'm in the government, I hold the power, I decide, I call the shot. So that kind of thing, I'm not sure whether it's the right way to go, whether you need a balance for it. But meritocracy is, well, like I said, anyone can hold that power if there's no real transparent assessment of the competency of that officer. I myself have lost trust on markings, and I wanted to introduce for certain grades, especially the higher grades, in order for you to be eligible for promotion. I would assess them through public engagement. You know, if you're a lawyer or you're an accountant, just do a paper on accountant, how that paper can serve the public, and do a town hall concept. You know, maybe half an hour. your audience should be like 60% accountant according to your profession lah. And then 40% from members of the public, open for everyone. Let them ask questions and see how you handle the town hall concept. If you can handle it well, there will be an assessor down there. Then you deserve the higher post, you know. That's very important rather than just marks. We live under academic world for too long. Even education, what do you call it? Our education situation also is highlighting the same issue. We've been too academic about things.
That sort of reminds me a bit on the old China's bureaucratic structure, which is where the bureaucratic servants, they were assessed not just on how smart they are, but how well they know poetry, how well they know music, how well they know history, how well they can engage with the current culture around them and culture that came before. Could we broaden these horizons for our civil servants to be, because what I was taught was that exposure is the most valuable currency for wisdom, to know other perspectives, take on different viewpoints, and understand where things can come from, like different ideas. So, can we broaden that, Datuk?
I'm all for it. This is something that relates to what I just discovered from the education system. Most of international and domestic experts, education experts, I call it them, they have this narration. We are too much into all these academic achievements, but we lack literature into it.
Yeah.
So even though you are super on your academic achievement, but you on the humanity side of it, on the creativity side of it, you're becoming too rigid. So you're not exploring the full potential of that academic achievement. You can go far. Literature, I would all go for it. I mean, it can go as basic as, you know, Sabah is very rich on this. It doesn't matter what your experience is. It can be your knowledge about you know, the green. It can be knowledge about the sea. All that is even sports. Sabah is very, very well known with sports for decades. But all this curriculum is so important. You don't want to be a robot there, you know. But I would go for it. I would fully support that notion.
Yes, please.
Yes, I mean, tied down to meritocracy is the idea of competency. Because definitely, if someone who's competent, who can do the job, who can perform, that it should be part of the core rating of him as being merit for the promotion, merit for the post. But it can be a situation where, as you said, he scored a lot of marks there, but maybe not that much relevant to the competency that you put him in. Like, if someone who's been put on an assignment to eradication of poverty, he may be just looking at the symptoms of all the thing around him, but he didn't actually find out the root cause. We find that a lot of Sabah are actually working in West Malaysia. Why? Why are there lack of job opportunity, not enough good opportunity for advancement, that kind of thing? So I think the competition is very, very closely tied to meritocracy. When you want to promote a civil servant, you must make sure that he can do the job and he's willing to learn to do the job.
Just to relate what Datuk said and you said about meritocracy, Anwar Ibrahim has been famous in his campaign leading up to becoming Prime Minister, and now also as a Prime Minister, he always says the habit of the hearts, where people who actually, you know, very intelligent, they have a high degree or whatnot, like you mentioned, Datuk, but in terms of, you know, morality, the humanity side of it, there's lacking of it, you know. So what, especially from your point of view as an auditor, what can Sabah actually do, or is there any specific system that can be implemented to improve this?
Yeah, I think basically your dedication, your commitment comes from the very core idea of love. You love your state, you love your country. You're driven that kind of patriotism that want you to do what is best for the general good. You know, beyond your own personal advancement, you felt that you want to leave a legacy of good works that future generations benefit. But what you see around here is, especially by political thinking, is only doing it for the next general election. enough. I scored enough goodwill that I can scrape through or get through the next election.
Well, that's what they say about politicians. They're thinking about the next election, right? That's the survival
Next
rate.
election. So we need to think a more long term. That's why you can differentiate between a great statesman and a politician. Is the statesman look to the next century. He know that his legacy will have to leave something good that will benefit and will generate happiness and prosperity for the people of the future. He's not looking at his generation. He look beyond that. So I think that's how I see it. How do you get this? Is a love for your country, for love for your state. You know, as they say, charity begins at home.
Yeah.
I'm looking at Sabah, my own state where I'm born and you came from. We want the best for Sabah, especially in terms of what you see here. We are not giving a good fair terms of what has happened since 1963. We are not giving a good deal. So many things that you are fighting for, by right should have been in the original intention of the formation of the country. It was not there, and now we had to go and fight for it. Yeah.
Not a lot of people are willing to say that it was flawed from the beginning, but I'm glad you said that, Michael. It was very...
Yeah. I mean,
so it needs to be said.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking, I told a lot of political friends, I said, look, the next election is not so much against Obama. It's about fighting for the rights of the people of Sabah. It's no longer talking about what party you're from. Yeah, I think the general perception, we're looking for a candidate, regardless of party, who will advance the interests of the state.
I remember talking to a senior officer next to me, and then, whatever you do, please don't have expectations for you. You're gonna get hurt. Do it for Sabah. Do it for all the reason for the next generation officer. Because the moment you have expectation, I'll be rewarded after this, you'll be disappointed. You won't. So stop thinking about us. Stop thinking about you need to advocate this kind of talk more often across to the civil service, because for some reason they are so keen in making but I'm not sure. But if you look around, I told them, look, the last one, according to one expert ideas, I think the data is Sabah still remain to be well off up to 1991 since Merdeka. From 1991 until now, it's stopped dropping, and recovery is not that, it's quite there yet. So, like you said, when we lost grounds on MS-63, part of them is because of competency as well. Because the people who were supposed to be defending and pick it up did not. Not because intentional, but it could be they didn't know about this thing. It can happen among government servants, it can happen among leaders. So, yeah.
I think this discussion for this evening is not complete if we don't talk about technology also. Technology's role in combating corruptions and increasing meritocracy. So, what's the status in the government now? What's being implemented as a digital initiative? And maybe you can add also what is the number one obstacles to implement this?
I will answer the second question first. The number one obstacle will still be competency. You see, we have the best tech today with AI. In fact, I've mooted the idea with SPRM and a lot of other agencies. I said, look, I'm developing my dashboards. Dashboard is there for me to monitor what's happening all over Sabah. Data integrity is all that is needed. Otherwise, the dashboard is rubbish. What the AI will do is, long after I'm gone, it will continue to serve that ministry based on the structured SOPs, reporting systems, and governance in there. So only AI will take it over, you know. But here's the thing, how do I frame the AI? It needs to be properly trained, otherwise it will become useless, and it's a matter of time. It's not that I'm setting up a very rigid SOP there long after I'm gone, but I'm just fixing those who's going to change it in the future. They can still do it, but there will be an accountability feature there. So we are framing all this, we all started from mind mapping into what we need to be in a dashboard, and then the reason behind this proposal, because we are looking at government servant that also comes in and go. The experienced one may not be there forever, you know, been taken away. So it's another struggle to with the new officers. So SPRM will bring in their perspective, at which point the AI will do its own reporting directly, quietly to SPRM when somebody is bypassing. So I'm not going to reveal everything here, but it's moving towards that way.
Yeah, I think when you look at AI can never be objective in its pursuit because it's a program. It's programmed by people who want the outcome predetermined based on the technology of they're able to scrounge around, get the information summarized for you. So if the program is meant to be for good, it can be. That's why around the world, the talks about AI intelligence ethics had to be decided by the world because AI can be programmed into a machine that can destroy. Especially the use of AI in robotic wars. So there's still disagreement how we should frame our AI philosophy in terms of ethics. It can be such that it will have the exact opposite of trying to advance civilization. It eventually can destroy. Someone actually developing a robotic that can actually self-destruct any attempt to interfere with its program once you set it. If anyone want to terminate, it will able to stop it. That kind of technology is already in place. So we need to be very careful. For human, for administration, but all these things, they are good because then we know because the programming can be checked. What sort of thing will figure and configure into the system to able to pick up and recognize competency, efficiency, dedication, that level of thing. Oh, very smart. Now, if you just look at the DeepSeek, you ask them a very philosophical, very even religious view. He can argue with you, according to this, according to wow. I said it starts to think human. You had that kind of rational and argument. You can see that kind of intelligence. They become more and more human-like already.
Yeah. Maybe Datuk, in Sabah we also gonna create a Department of Government Efficiency like in America. Do you see that?
I'm all for that because when I reported for duty in this ministry, only within 2 weeks I received a courtesy call from UK Civil Service College. It's headed by former Home Secretary, former Treasurer. So the one who came to see me is a member of the House of Lords. So he was giving an overview whether we can have an engagement into civil service training. So what UK Civil Service College does is they're setting up a criteria. What kind of civil servant are they looking for in this department, in that department, in this era, So one of the area of focus is they were emphasizing not so much on your PhDs or your academic achievement, but we want to see your ground experience. Where have you worked before and how long? They will need at least minimum of 3 to 5 years minimum if you work into this whichever area you are in. So that will help. So they're focusing on the ground experience is actually dictated because of the need for vocational mindset. TVET, that's why TVET is now on the rise. They're no longer looking into all this degree, but they want to see your ground reality. It's all about ground reality. It's all about experience. So if you've never been out down there, you've never swim in the mud before, you've never been bitten by a mosquito before, there's a worry for the new, the big organization today. So Civil Service College UK is looking into all that minute details into how to set up a criteria. Training is also their next best thing, but they haven't shared their training module which they are offering. But we do have it now, but I feel there is less the ground reality to it. It's still premised on academic training. So we need when I say academic, I'm sure they use the latest sources which came from the latest study, so the study also come down from the ground reality, but it's not the same as if you're doing it. To put it in a way, kids like to play sports car in an iPad. Or you can go as fast as you like, 200 kilometer, 400 kilometer. But do you know what it feels like to be in a 200 kilometer, the G-force like? So that kind of thing is needed. Otherwise, you lose track of what's really happening.
We have very limited time left
Sure.
here. So last question, maybe 1 minute or less. What's your hope and inspiration? Start from Michael.
Well, hope and aspiration, I think it's very important for us to achieve the objective of this is a very strong political will. The government must support it. I can see, like, for instance, when we are talking about the inefficiency and wastage created by GLC, the government now set up a task force. Now, whether they're putting competent people there to monitor it, I'm not sure. As far as I know, there is a retired banker now looking into it. But I always say that what is the purpose of a GLC? It's more a political animal than a business vehicle. So if the government use this for due purpose, you can expect two outcomes. It's been used for political purpose, for rewards, and it can also be used to act as a catalyst to create more business opportunity which the private sector may not have the capacity to go in. So I think most important thing is the government, the public sector will work together, the private sector. Together we actually move in. Like slowly you can see the government see the importance of professional people being put into GLC. That will actually guide and act as an independent director there that will give guidance. Because if you put professional in GLC, the professional is not going to risk their reputation and go along with anything the chairman, which normally is a political appointment, to go along that would actually bring loss or wastage to the GLC. So those are the things you can say, certain check and balances there, but need to be more to be done.
We are there, but not there. I'm always use this term. So what I mean by that is that we have a lot of good people around. We have a lot of experienced people around. I think we need to gather all this. We're not under the same roof. That's the problem. We are scattered all over the place, and I'm sure each one of those people are struggling where they are. So we need to gather these people, and a platform is needed. So we are ready whenever the government is ready to ask for advice or ideas. So this group is readily available to contribute, you see. I mean, this group coming from private sector, ground reality, and also some of them are involved in the service. So it's a community effort. But above all, I think what I meant to say, when we are already there but not there, all it needs is the love for Sabah.
Yes.
I like to borrow your words. The passion is needed. It's the only thing that rescues us, actually. That's all.
Well, I think that wraps up our 8th and final episode for this series of his. What a way to cap it off. We circled back to something very, very basic, which is the human element here. But before I give my thoughts, Fiz, any closing remarks on this?
I think it's already stated that the passion, the love for the state is at utmost priority. Regardless your paper qualification, your experience, or whatever, at the most, at that peak, is always your passion towards the state. So, if you're Sabahan passionately looking at this video, please share to your friends and family.
Yeah, I think my just a closing remark is that Michael illustrated the idea of character, integrity. Then Datuk Hanafiah was talking about broadening horizons, expanding your capability as an individual. I think that is what's very much needed in Sabah, is that we have brilliant people, but we can make even more brilliant people, excellent people, as long as we're committed to an idea that's larger than ourselves, not to fall back to the whole political culture we have, which is very self-serving, only sees the next election, very, very narrow and very parochial. We need to look at it in a way that's grander, wider vision. All the great people that we've read about, all the heroes that we read about, always had a grand and consistent vision that they impose upon, that everyone can follow, everyone can believe in. And I think we hope we played our role here in Kopitiam Council with this final episode, Voices to Action, which is a collaboration between Kopitiam Council and the Sabah Action Body advocating rights here to talk about Sabah's most pressing issues. But Hafiz, it doesn't end here, right? Like you mentioned. After this, what's going to happen?
So you can engage in newspapers, articles that coming up, and also town halls in few places in Sabah. So wait wait for that information. You can look up in the Sabah social media as well, and Kopitiam Council. And if you've been watching all 8 episodes of this series, congratulations to you, because you one of the few people in Sabah that covered most of these topics that we talk about, from healthcare, the education, and lastly is the meritocracy and corruptions here. So, Adi?
Yeah, I think last thank you would be to both our guests for capping it off. Very, very good, very great conversation.
Yes.
And American Corner Sabah, who has been very gracious in letting us use this space here for the past 8 episodes. I tell you, it's been a wonderful experience to be able to do it in person again with Hafiz in Sabah itself, in the Sabah State Library. So if you really are interested in doing your own podcast, please just book your reservation here at the American Corner Sabah. You just need to fill up the form, to say what your topic is going to be, and you just come over and you click the record button. So thank you so much to American Corner Sabah for this.
Yes. So see you again in the next series.